Hello, welcome to Lemon Studios, where we talk anything and everything entertainment. I'm, of course, the Lemon himself, Zeke Lemon, and this is my review for Friday Night SmackDown. But before we get into that, let's get the house cleaning out of the way. Sherry, I'm to leave a like. Comment below, let me know your thoughts on Friday Night SmackDown. Of course, hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into my YouTube career. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into the review, shall we? So, we haven't covered the last couple of SmackDowns, and those were for two reasons. 2 weeks ago, I believe the episode was just all right. Not really much to talk about, and I feel like I just been getting really redundant with my criticism when it comes to SmackDown and just with all of WWE in general, really. And then last week it was the final episode before Money in the Bank. So, and those episodes always tend to not do well. So I don't think I'm going to do those reviews moving forward, because the PLE review always does significantly better than the SmackDown review because the SmackDown hardly gets any attention. So those are the reasons why. But we are back now. We are covering this week's episode. And, like I said on Monday Night Raw, and hell, even the Money in the Bank review as well, it just really feels like WWE has their focus back. I do feel like they have figured out the 3 hours for the most part at this point. And now, granted, they have something to really help them within that, which was the King and Queen of the Ring tournament for Fatal 4-Ways. We all know how I feel about that if you watched the Raw and Money in the Bank review. Wasn't the hugest fan of it, but the quality of the matches have been so good that it almost exits it out where now I don't really care anymore. I do still think it's a bit of a cop-out. Now I don't think that's necessarily a negative anymore. I think, you can still think something's a cop-out, but can still understand it because there are get-out-of-jail-free cards. With that being said, I still hope next year we do go back to the one-on-one format because, again, if you are to hold the title of King of the Ring or Queen of the Ring, you should pin every single person who is put in front of you. And if we are to do this Fatal 4-Way thing, then maybe do eliminators as well because, again, it's a battle of endurance for the most part. But we had all 4 first-round matchups for SmackDown on this. So we had 4 Fatal 4-Way matches. All of them were really good. And only one had the distraction finish that we've been complaining about here. And it was the right match to do it. And it was LA Knight getting distracted by Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker getting speared. And then Carmelo Hayes hitting a frog splash that was turned into an RKO midair. Very creative finish. A lot of creative finishes to matches on this one. There was this one and then the Charlotte Fatal 4-Way in the Queen of the Ring because I really thought it was going to be Jade versus Charlotte in the final. I now no longer think that. I do think it's going to be an all SmackDown King of the Ring finals with Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. I know a lot of people want Sami Zayn, but I do think, especially with the opening promo on this show, is that they made it very clear that it is going to be Orton versus Rhodes in the final. And then over on the Queen of the Ring side, now that Charlotte's out, I'm not sure how we get out of this. The second round is very, very interesting to me because we have Roxanne versus Jade Cargill. And then we have Alexa Bliss versus who I am assuming to be Stephanie Vacquier, or Vacque, as Nikki Bella would say. It could also be Asuka since she is making her return. I do think the Kabuki Warriors will be facing the Raquel and Liv Morgan at SummerSlam for the tag belts. For the tag belt, so I don't see Asuka being in the Women's Championship program. I don't see us really prologuing Rhea through SummerSlam, and do we keep the belt on Io by then? It's going to be really, really interesting to see because you got to assume Roxanne is still going to be intertwined with Liv and Raquel up until at least SummerSlam as well. So maybe do we put Io back with the Kabuki Warriors and we do some 6 women tags throughout that storyline? Because, again, I do think the final for Queen of the Ring is Roxanne versus Stephanie. How do we book that, especially with all these distraction finishes that we've been having? And I am hoping for actual winners and losers. It's going to be really interesting to see. You could have Naomi get involved to get Jade out. But, again, I would actually like definitive winners and losers. But if there's anyone that you could do a distraction finish on, it is that matchup. So it's going to be, again, I've already said it like 5 times throughout this video. It's going to be really interesting to see. And then on the King of the Ring side, you got Sami versus Orton. Going to be a great match. As cool as it would be for Sami Zayn to win and then go to Saudi Arabia to be in the King of the Ring final, then possibly win, and then he faces Gunther at SummerSlam. I think we are doing this tournament just so Cody Rhodes has something to do this year, or this tournament is just for Cody Rhodes to do something this year and to justify, even though we don't need the justification for Cody versus Cena. Now, I would love to be proven wrong and go another way, because one, I also do think, a much beefier SummerSlam match is Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton, especially with Naomi in the background, because the back and forth that her and Tiffany had. It's going to be interesting to see. Again, I'm going to try to stop saying it. But it is going to be, I'm very curious to see how it's going to go, if we do Jade and Tiffany, because Naomi wants to cash in on Tiffany to get the revenge from Tiffany constantly distracting Naomi. I really like that storyline element. Then, of course, there's always the history between Jade and Naomi as well, especially with Bianca in the background. I've heard the report that we are kind of wanting Bianca to be back by SummerSlam, hopefully before. Again, at Evolution, I do think we are doing the triple threat. Then, when we go to SummerSlam, Jade is getting preoccupied with Tiffany. You can do Bianca and Naomi one-on-one at SummerSlam. And, that's something for all women to do. Then later on, Naomi can cash in on whoever wins that title match, or maybe she does the Seth Rollins and make it a triple threat. But again, that's part of the cool thing of where we are at right now. There's a lot of fun possibilities. It's nothing for certain, especially after Raw with changing the title on it. The only thing that really seems certain is that Cody's going to beat Cena at SummerSlam to take the title away from him. But yeah, again, these tournaments just give so much life to the shows, because we do have to focus on the wrestling. Now, the only downfall is that every other title is really taking a back seat, minus the Street Profits to a degree. I mean, they are preoccupied with the Wyatts. I do kind of like this all the tag teams are now in an alliance to try to take down the Wyatts before they get to the tag team champions. Motor City Machine Guns versus the Warrior 6 was a fun match. No funny business. It was just fun, hard hitting, and then the Wyatts got the W, and then assuming they're going to climb up on the ranks. I don't know who they face next week. I would hope DIY, because they have to face DIY at some point. Fraxium, I do feel like it's a little too early. And then there is the Street Profits, but I don't remember if there was any other tag teams involved, because Pretty Deadly has kind of been written out of it, and then Legado has kind of been moved to AAA. So we will see where it goes from here, what other tag teams they face. Again, I think it's a little early for Fraxium. I don't know how DIY gets out of it, because, again, I don't know any other teams. And, of course, the Street Profits have to be last because they are the champions. So we will see on that one. But that's the only one that has really clear direction. Of course, the Cena and Punk stuff. It does look like they're incorporating Punk's comments about Saudi Arabia into the storyline, which I could take or leave. Again, like I said on my Raw review, I don't really care if Punk is a hypocrite or not, because one, I think everyone in their own degree is a hypocrite in some way, shape, or form. We all do things that we hate others do to a degree. And, he said those comments many years ago, and Saudi Arabia has changed a little bit. There's a reason why Sami Zayn now is more than willing to go to Saudi Arabia for the shows, because he used to refuse to go too. And then, they worked out their thing. I don't remember exactly what was going on with Saudi Arabia. I think them and Syria were going through a war. But now they're good. Saudi Arabia and Syria get along. So now Sami is more than willing to go, and he is a beloved hero there. He's not a hypocrite for going back. So why is Punk a hypocrite for going there? I don't know. Again, maybe I'm not knowledgeable enough in it. But again, overall, I just don't care. So that added storyline element, I don't really care for. Now, Punk going after Cena, going, look, I know you're still a good guy. The whole line of, I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi talking to Darth Vader, trying to find Anakin Skywalker. And, he's trying to give him every out possible. I do wish Cena was kind of leaning more into it a little bit more. Not necessarily within the promos. I don't need him to outright say, you might have something going on there. I would just like for Cena to, struggle within the facial expression. Look down at the ground a little bit. Show that doubt. Show that little bit of doubt there, because that's clearly where we're going. Again, once we get to December and we are in Boston and Cena is going to be on his final match, there's no way he's going to be a bad guy. No matter what he does. He could literally kill a man the week before the Boston show. Come out in the Boston crowd with the head of the person he killed, and he will still be cheered. So there's no point in trying to make the bad guy work anymore. And I'm someone who actually likes the heel run. I think, honestly, this night was the best night of the heel John Cena. His opening promo, I love his villain cadence quite a bit. Like when he bumped into Jimmy Uso going, "Where's R-Truth?" That was so funny to me. And then saying, "Hey, I'm going to go back out to the ring." He has that back and forth with Punk. I do need Cena to fight back on the mic a little bit, because it has been Cena says a little bit, then Punk just kind of takes it over and then walks away. So I would like to see Cena fight back on those promos quite a bit. But again, we have 2 weeks to do that, and we are getting R-Truth versus Cena next week, which is a good callback. Think about it. Because I'm calling it right now. R-Truth is gonna put Cena through a Slim Jim table. Look, if WWE gets to do it, I get to do it too. R-Truth is gonna put Cena through a Slim Jim table, with Punk being distraction, and then Punk's gonna go up on the ramp, and they're going to replicate the pipe bomb in some way, shape, or form. There's a reason for that. It's so integral, and it makes so much sense. And I'm really looking forward to it. But after that, I do need Cena to actually fight back on the words, because it is the Punk and Cena stuff is much more better when they are actually going back and forth with each other, as opposed to, all right, Cena, you get a monologue. Okay, now Punk, you get the monologue. Okay, now we got to move on from the next things here and there. I don't mind the bye week for the Women's United States title program here. I do feel like we are starting to cook up something here with Zelina and Julia. I don't see it happening at Night of Champions. I don't think it needs to happen at Night of Champions. I think we could prolong this until Evolution. Maybe we do a best of 7 series where the title keeps going back and forth. We could do round 1 on the SmackDown. And we could just keep those active. I was actually watching a video earlier, and someone was saying it feels like the mid-card titles have more focus on the world titles. And if you go back to what I was saying before Mania, I believe, I was saying, look, I think post-Mania, yeah, it had to be pre-Mania, but post-Mania, I would like the world titles to feel more like spectacles as opposed to being shown weekly, and then the mid-card titles and the tag divisions to be shown to be the more prominent titles throughout the whole entire show. And it does look like we are doing that. It's just taking a little bit of a slow burn to get there, because now I do feel like there's a much more better focus on the women's U.S. title. We still got a lot of work to do, don't get me wrong, but I think Julia and Zelina is a good program to go from there, especially with Chelsea Green kind of being written out. It was so funny though, when Chelsea's on the FaceTime and she just keeps talking after Zelina turned the phone down, put it to the side, and Zelina's talking to Nick Aldis and Chelsea just keeps talking. So we're keeping her involved within that program. I kind of want her to go to the women's WWE title, because one, I'm just not into the whole Nia Jax stuff again. I literally groaned when Nia came out to attack Tiffany for the 5th time. Now, if that was just a show as a tease as to things that we can do, and again, storyline-wise, it makes sense, because who was always there when Naomi was going for the belt? It was Nia, who was the champion. Tiffany was one distraction, so now we're kind of flip-flopping it, whatever. But I just don't need to see it again, and I don't really care to see it again. And I just really want us to move on from it. And again, I just want fresh matchups. And if Jade is to be the SummerSlam program, which again, I kind of hope, although again, I think the Queen of the Ring final is Roxanne versus Stephanie to face either Io or Rhea at SummerSlam, then, why not do a Tiffany versus Chelsea Green program? That's really quick, 3 weeks, can happen on Night of Champions, or hell, even on a random SmackDown. Even though I do want our world titles to be spectacles, our women's world, our WWE women's, and our WWE champion and our world heavyweight champion, which Cena is showing up pretty regularly, which is really great, which is why he is the GOAT. On his last run, he's given us really one true, full-time run. I do want them to be defended a little bit more, because I think post-Mania, I don't think Io has defended it once. She had that little story with Roxanne and Julia with Rhea, and Rhea has yet to get her rematch, even though it's very clear that she's going for the belt. Tiffany at least defended against Nia Jax. Cena has had opponent after opponent, because he is the main focus. And then the World Heavyweight title, we had the Logan Paul match, and then we had the Raw match, and then that was really it. So again, even though I wanted to feel more like spectacles, and it is going in that route, I would like a little bit more defenses, not just with all the titles at the same time. I'm not saying defend them at every single PLE, But I would like for them to be switched out a little bit. I don't really mind that the World Heavyweight Championship has only been defended twice. I do have a problem with the Women's World Championship not being defended once. And I do have a problem with the WWE Women's Championship only being defended only one time, which was about 2 months ago. Again, if they all had 2 defenses, I would be okay. And I think Cena, again, is on his 2nd defense, but he's been showing up pretty regularly. So I would say overall, my only big criticism within that is within the world titles just to be at least defended at least one more time each, all the way around. But yeah, the King and the Queen of the Ring tournament stuff has been great. I think the tag division is very, very healthy. Again, don't mind really the bye week on the United States Championship by any means. Jacob and Solo had a really good program. I really do hope that, the whole, I need you to come out and say, I love you, Solo, and as much as I can take you in, I can take you out. I would assume, what's his name? He debuted on Main Event. I cannot recall his name. I guess he'll make his proper debut next week, and he'll join Solo and JC in their jump Solo, and the Night of Champions is Solo versus Jacob, and we could just move on from that. I just kind of wish we got it confirmed tonight, as opposed to, hey, we're going to prolong it one more week, because we do have, I would assume we have to get at least 2 more matches on that card to really fill it out, because right now we only have 3: Queen of the Ring final, King of the Ring final, and then of course Cena versus Punk. But yeah, good show overall. Really, really happy with it. It really feels like the focus is there. Hopefully we can keep that momentum going post that. Alexa and Charlotte's story is getting really meaty. I liked how, Alexa had an interview and Charlotte interrupted her. Then Charlotte made her entrance, and then Alexa interrupted that. Really like to finish up the figure 8, and then Alexa get into the Sister Abigail 1, 2, 3 before Charlotte can break the pin. And then you also see Michin tap after the 3 as well. So just to show, hey, Charlotte, you were right there. Really liking that storyline as well. Really love what we're doing with all the women's storylines. They really do feel fresh. And again, it fleshes out the show very well, especially with it being 3 hours. Just hopefully we can keep these women's storylines going after Evolution, because there's only been a big focus on them because Evolution is coming, and I hope we just keep that focus going post-Evolution. But what did you think of this episode of SmackDown? Comment below, let me know your thoughts. Leave a like if you made it this far within a review. I do greatly appreciate it. And of course, hit that subscribe button, as I am trying to grow into my YouTube career. And until next time, guys, I'll see you here at Lemon Studios.